welcome to another exciting edition of PC Voyage. I'm Diana McLean, and I'm here today with Rainey Lavalette, my co-host, and Tim Hamlet. How are you tonight?
Pretty good. How are you?
That's great. I'm good. How about you, Rainey?
I'm doing just fine.
Terrific. Well, tonight we're going to be talking about how to buy a computer, and that'll be a big help to those at home that haven't had a chance to go out and purchase one yet.
Well, there are a lot of first-time buyers out there, and I think that we can do them some help here and tell them what we recommend that they go out and purchase.
Oh, yes, definitely. I think so. So how about the components? Are we going to talk about everything?
Well, we're going to try to. We're going to see how much we can get into 25 minutes, but we're going to try to talk about the processor, the motherboard, the case, how much memory. Disk drives, floppy drives, sound cards, tape drives, support. Just about name it, we're going to try to get into it.
Great, great. It'll be a big help.
I hope it is. Hope it is.
Me too.
So we're going to go to a trivia question now?
That's a good idea. Why don't we break so everyone can look at the trivia question and try their best at it.
And we'll be right back.
Be right back. Hi, welcome back from the trivia question. While you're plugging away at the answer, right now, Tim is going to be talking about motherboards. Tim?
Well, motherboards. It's one good thing every computer should have.
I think it's required.
Required? Oh, okay. There are several types of motherboards out there. 486DXs, SXs, DX2s, different speeds. What this means is the DX comes with a coprocessor already built into the CPU. The SX does not have the coprocessor built into it. The DX2 is basically a speed doubler. The 25 megahertz version of the 486 is doubled up to 50 megahertz, and the 33 megahertz version is doubled up to 66. These machines come with both internal cache in the 486 chip itself and an external cache on the motherboard, which will help speed up the processes that you're doing in your computer.
Can I ask you a question
Sure.
about, I was wondering if a 386 DX with a coprocessor is the same as a 486?
Pretty darn close to it. It's about the only difference there is the amount of internal caching that the 486 has.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you could still end up with an external cache and accomplish the same goal.
You can, but I do believe that the internal cache might be just a little bit faster.
Probably.
Okay.
Okay, you're going to also need some memory to go with this motherboard of yours, and there are several different types of SIMs, or single pin inline memory modules. Most of the boards come with SIMs now. They had some older types that are, you might be able to find some motherboards out there that take them, but I wouldn't worry about it.
What is the minimum memory that you would want for a computer?
Well, it depends on what you're running. If you're running Windows, I would recommend a minimum of 4 megabytes, more if you can afford it.
You're going to want 8 if you're running more than one application. I mean, if you're going to use Windows, say, for just WordPerfect, then 4 megabytes is probably enough. But if you want to run WordPerfect and Excel and something else, then you're going to want to have more than 4.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, these SIMs come in 1 meg by 9s, 1 meg by 3s, 4 meg by 9, and 4 meg by 3s.
Is that standard, or?
Yeah, these are pretty much standard. You can mix and match these as long as you put the 4 megabytes in ahead of the 1 megabytes. And all of them right now are running about 70 nanoseconds is the average. So, anything else you have questions on?
One thought that I had is that if you're going to buy a machine with 8 megabytes of RAM on it, make sure that they don't put 8 1 meg SIMs in. It's about the same price of them to put 2 4 meg SIMs in, and then you can put extra memory in there, because most cards come with either 4 SIM slots or 8 SIM slots. And I bought a system a year ago that had 8 slots in it, but they put a meg in each one. So now for me to upgrade my machine from 8 meg to 16 meg, I've got to take those 8 out and put
everything
four 4 megs in.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Real waste of time.
And money.
And money.
How about a wait state? What's a wait state?
A wait state? A wait state is a function of the memory where the memory runs much faster than the hardware or even the CPUs on the machine. So what some memories did is they implied wait states to let the memory stop and wait for the hardware and the rest of the machine to catch up with it. Most of the memory now is coming with 0 wait state, so really needn't concern yourself with wait states.
Okay, thank you. Now, Rainey is going to talk about hard drives and floppies. Aren't you, Rainey?
Oh, I'm gonna try here.
Okay, great.
When you go out to buy a machine these days, you're gonna be faced with 2 decisions when it comes to hard drives. First one is, do I buy a IDE hard drive or do I buy a SCSI hard drive? The only real difference between the two is that usually, and let me go back to a little bit about what the technology is. In both the cases of the IDE and the SCSI, the actual physical working parts of it are all part of the physical drive. The controller card, unlike the older drives, the controller card is just the interface from the drive to the computer. It's not the controller card that's on the card that you're going to slip in. Technologically, there's not that much difference between the IDE and the SCSI. The IDEs are a lot less complicated than the SCSI drives are, so the price is going to be a lot less, or a little less. When it comes to SCSIs, you can get higher capacities. If you're looking for like a 1 gigabyte drive, you can only get it in SCSI. IDEs only go up to 512 meg. The technological differences between the two are minimal, but for the difference in the price, unless you're going to attach more than one drive on there, you're really only going to really need a SCSI drive, an IDE drive. I caught myself on the words.
Okay, okay.
When it comes to the floppies, most systems these days, and this is what I recommend, is to put the 3.5-inch 1.4 meg drive as your primary drive A. Most software that you pick up in the stores, and you guys can confirm this, most software that you pick up in the stores is coming on 3.5s. Some packages you'll get both 5.25s and 3.5s, but you're really running out of those kinds of alternatives. Most people are just shipping software on 3.5s.
Although if you have old software, don't forget to get that 5.25.
You're going to want to get a 5.25 probably.
Because it's no more money, really.
I mean, it's an extra $40 for the extra drive. I mean, so and if you get a case that's got 2 or 3 bays in it, you can just slip the 5.25 in as the second bay.
Of course, they're coming out with those the dual floppies with the 5.25 and the 3.5 in one that will fit into one 5.25 bay.
Yeah, but for the price of those, I mean, those are running about 150, where you can get a 3.5 and a 5.25 for about 100. So it's like if you're concerned about the space, you can save, or if you're not concerned about the space, you can save yourself about $50.
What about multi-cards?
Multi-function cards? Pretty much, as far as I can see, pretty well passé. You don't see a lot of, well, I guess you do in some cases. You might have a card that has both the floppy, the hard drive controller, and the serial and a parallel card all built into one card. Not as common these days. A lot of the motherboards have serial and parallel right on the motherboard itself, so that it sticks out of the back of your machine. So usually just the hard drive controller just does that, controls the hard drive.
I see.
One other thought that I missed was when you're going to go and buy a hard drive, if you're going to run Windows, don't get anything less than 200 meg. For the price performance, it's really good. And a lot of the systems, if you're buying them pre-packaged, come with 300 and 400 meg drives. So got to keep that in mind as well.
One point that I like to make, if you're out there looking for a hard drive, SCSI technology, it's one thing. It's attached to a host adapter, which will allow the connection of up to 6 other devices, 7 total, to this host adapter. And a lot of these peripherals include CD-ROM drives, which we'll be talking about, and other things that, the flexibility with the SCSI technology is a lot more than with the IDE.
You got to be careful because the SCSI, it's an older standard, and the specs for it are very loose. So if you're going to go and buy a SCSI drive from vendor A, make sure that the cards you buy from vendor B will work with that drive. Otherwise, you can run into all kinds of problems. It's not that solid of a standard.
Right, also you can get the SCSI cards that you can also hook your floppy drives to, which saves a lot of space inside the machine.
Sure.
And for people that aren't very familiar with what SCSI is, what does it stand for? What is it written down on paper?
Small Computer Systems Interface.
Actually, originally placed on the Apple systems. The Apple Macintoshes were pretty much the first ones to have SCSI adapters.
SCSI?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
not SUZZI.
Actually, they're
So-
very good drives. They're not SCSI at all.
Well, right now, we've got to take a moment to find out the answer to the trivia question. Good luck. Hi, welcome back. I hope you got the trivia answer correct. Right now, we're going to speak about power. That's an important thing when using computers because they take up so much energy.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, so do you guys want to say anything?
Well, we can point fingers here all night, Tim. Well, the only thing really to be said about power, and you know, most cases come with power supplies. When it comes to buying a case, I'll turn this around a little bit. When it comes to buying a case, you've got essentially 4 or 5 different styles. You've got the low-profile cases, which are usually only one slot, usually 2 slots, one for a floppy here and one for a floppy here, and that's about it. With the cards inside, sometimes they lay horizontally as opposed to vertically. You've got the regular cases that'll usually allow 3 to 6 bays. You've got the mini towers, which stand about this high, a lot of companies are using those. And you've got the big towers. You have like 5 or 6 slots in the front, plus 7 or 8 more places for devices, plus about a dozen cards and everything right inside the box.
And don't forget, you're going to need a surge protector too.
Well, yeah, anytime you plug these things in, you should. I mean, I've always had a debate as far as how long you should hang on to a surge suppressor. You know, spend the money on it. If for some reason you get a power surge in your house like I had recently, you want to make sure that your computer is going to be safe. And that's one way to ensure it. But going back to power supplies, most cases, if you're buying them as a component, come with a power supply. 200 watts is probably a pretty good power supply.
200 watts will supply just about anything you can put in your machine.
Yeah, a lot of the energy efficient ones are coming in with about, what are they, 120s, 150s. The new IBM ones are like really low as far as power consumption.
Right. I haven't really checked those out before, but I do know that the Macintoshes were notoriously underpowered machines. They used to come with like a 90-watt power supply. And as soon as you added anything to it, you were starting to press the limits of the power supply. So if you buy a case with a 200 in there, you're going to have no problems whatsoever.
There. Now we've overkilled on power and cases and stuff.
Well, don't forget
Right.
with monitors too. When you're not using the computer, it's a good idea to use that screensaver.
That's true. That's true.
And there's also a new product on the market that shuts the monitor off if you're not using it within a certain amount of time, saving energy in that respect.
Oh, yeah?
So that's terrific.
I've not seen those.
The only thing I recommend about the cases is staying away from those low-profile cases unless absolutely
Well,
necessary.
they're a real pain in the neck to take apart.
Yeah, if you have to get inside of it, you need like a child's fingers to get in there to get at
You just
anything.
disassemble the whole thing. And
Yeah,
you
do
have
not
to,
disassemble.
you know, parts all over the place.
Well, how about fax and modems, or the combination of the two together?
Faxes and modems? Well, modems are pretty handy to have. It's not an absolute necessary device.
Well, it's nice if you want to use CompuServe, Prodigy,
if you-
or anything like that.
Right, definitely, if you want to use bulletin boards, a modem is a good thing to have. About the standard nowadays is the 9600 baud modem. The faster ones, the 14.4s, the 38.5s, they actually don't transmit any faster than 9600. They play games with a file compression in order to obtain those speeds. And you mentioned the faxes. Some boards already come with a fax board on them. You can use them like a regular modem, or you can send faxes out just like a normal fax machine, except it's electronic.
But for the price of I mean, most modems these days, you either get them with a fax or without a fax. And for an extra $30, I mean, it's far better value to buy it with the fax. You may not use it today, but you're going to want to have it.
Right. I find the rule of thumb in here is that, you know, if your purse allows it, get the better of whatever it is you're looking at.
Yep.
Now, I know they have internal and external. Now, why is external better?
Well, external, you can hear it a little better. All right. By the time they do have speakers on them,
Now, some of them are really poor speakers, though.
right. You can, if it's an external unit, you can hear the dial tones, the busy signals, or whatever, the ringing. A little better if it's an external. It also usually has a bank of lights on it that tells you what's going on inside the modem. If you get so much as to get all that information.
I've always found that an external is a little bit nicer. I've had people who've had problems with heating up, with their modems heating up if they've been internal. So I always recommend everybody get an external.
They are a little bit more expensive because they have their own power supply and case.
It's not that much different. It really isn't.
How about CD-ROMs?
Well, pulling out my notes here. When you're going to go out and buy a CD-ROM drive, and it's a popular peripheral, if you've been to any of the computer fairs, everybody's selling them, everyone's selling CD-ROMs. You want to watch out for a couple of things. You don't want to get a drive that's faster than 300 milliseconds, and that is very slow. You want to make sure that it has cache. Most of them these days have about 256K cache. You want to make sure that they meet the standards. Multimedia, Kodak Photo CD. You want to make sure that they can handle those kinds of those specs. You see some drives, some CD-ROM drives are what they call multi-spin. And what multi-spin is, you'll see some that have 2 times to 3 times multi-spin. And what that is that when it finds the correct address for the data, it can send the data twice as fast back to your PC. When you also buy a CD-ROM drive, you want to make sure that it has the software drivers for the card, and most of them come with a card, although you can use, in some cases, sound cards. And Microsoft DOS 6 comes with the MSC DEX, the Microsoft CD-ROM extensions, which you're going to need that as well.
How about the cost of CD-ROMs?
I mean, if you're spending, for an average drive, I mean, you can go to the fairs and spend probably $200 to $300 for a drive. If all you're looking for is a 300, 350 millisecond drive, that's the right price. You can buy 200 millisecond drives anywhere from $400 to $800 in price. It's a matter of the speed.
That's another thing too. Which is better, internal or external?
If you're limited in drive bays, you're going to want to get an external. If you've got more than one PC or think you might want to attach it to a different PC, you're going to want an external. You just need to get a SCSI card for each one. But if you're going to move it around at all, you get the external.
Okay. Well, before we talk about monitors, maybe we should speak to sound cards and sound blasters.
Well, there's a number of different sound cards out there. Started out with the Kovacs, the Ad-Libs. There's Thunderboards. The most popular right now is the Sound Blasters. There's the Sound Blaster Pro, the Pro 16, the ASP 16, and there's the Pro Audio Studio. They're all pretty good cards. The Sound Blaster Pro and the Pro 16 have a simulated stereo sound. It's actually 2 mono channels that simulate the stereo. The ASP 16 has true stereo sound. Okay, and the Pro Audio Studio has 16-bit sound into the board and out of the board. So when you're looking for the sound cards, my advice is just stay away from anything that you've never heard of. All right, and any of those package deals where you get the sound card and the speakers and everything for under $100. If it's too good to be true, believe me, it is.
But can't you also, I mean, you can also go out and buy the CD-ROM with the sound card, with some ROMs, I mean, all in a nice kit with the speakers and everything.
Oh, you can, yes.
And how do those compare? I mean, I know Sound Blaster offers a nice little package like that, and I think Sony does as well. How are those packages? Boy, I put you on the spot.
No kidding. I personally, I don't own a CD-ROM, and I have never tested one out, so I honestly can't tell you how
Well,
those
you
work.
do.
Well,
What do you think?
from what I've seen of the packages, I didn't buy the package. I don't have the sound card. If we took all of our systems, combined them together, we'd have some really hot machine, but we all have little pieces here and there.
Okay, well, you know, I
Sure,
hate
cut
to
me off in the middle of
interrupt
a
you, but yes, we do have to go on to monitors.
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 Yes.
Tim.
Oh, me again?
Tim
All right.
again.
Okay, monitors. This is one of my favorite subjects
Oh,
about
Oh,
computers.
great.
You know?
We found something he's good at.
To
Yeah.
throw it right at you. Get ready.
Okay, don't throw it too hard though.
How about interlaced and non-interlaced monitors? Which is better?
Well, there's a very small price difference between the interlaced and non-interlaced. And what they mean is that interlaced monitors draw the screen every other line, okay? And then it goes back and fills in the in-between lines that it left out before. The non-interlaced type draws it one line at a time all the way down the screen, okay? And what it translates to is that it actually takes twice as long to draw the picture on the interlaced version, and it also produces a almost imperceptible flicker in the screen. And it eye fatigue faster than the non-interlaced, and it also has been known to cause headaches in some people who are, you know, susceptible to this flicker.
How about Visa Local Bus? What does that mean?
Well, what the Visa Local Bus is it's a way to make your video run faster. The backplane or expansion slots of your computer actually still run at the old AT speeds of about 12 megahertz. What the Visa Local Bus does is it allows the graphics to run at the CPU speeds, 33 megahertz and better. Most of the boards are coming with the Visa Local Bus on it now, and if you can afford it, definitely get it.
Well, we're going to have to talk more about this after we cut for the address. We have something here that everyone should have. Diana has notes written all over it. We have a little sheet that we've put together, kind of summarizing.
Keith did that.
Keith did this, sorry. Summarizing everything that we're talking about here tonight, you know, different monitors and different things you should be looking for from different companies. And if you want a copy of this, just we're going to give you our address here. Just send us your name and address, and we'll make sure that you get a copy of this. And by doing so, you'll also be eligible for our software raffle. Or our software, what's the word I'm looking for? Not raffle, that's not the right word. Our software giveaway.
Drawing.
That's right, that's right. So we're going to cut right now and give you our address. We hope everyone got the address so you can get the PC Voyage hit list on how to buy a PC. And Tim, one thing we missed, I guess, was video cards. You've got about 15 seconds to cover video cards.
Whew, 5 times as long. There's VGA and SVGA out there as far as video cards go. If you can at all afford it, get the SVGA cards by all means with 1 megabyte of RAM on it. And dot pitch, the smaller the dot pitch of your monitor, the sharper the image on the screen, and there's, like I said, very small differences in price as you go down in dot pitch, so please get the best that your pocketbook will allow you to.
Okay, great. And we would like to introduce Lola Foote. Hi, Lola.
Hi.
You just mysteriously appeared here.
Great minds.
Now, I
I know.
understand that you were the one that put together this magnificent shopping list?
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm the one that made up the list to go shopping for a computer.
Well, why don't you tell us about it?
Well, the last time I bought a computer a few years ago, I had quite a time remembering everything that I wanted on my computer. So this time I did some research Actually what I did was I took some ads. I went to the shows and I picked up everybody's ads. I must have had a stack like this. And I went through the ads and picked out the words that I didn't understand and got the definition and an explanation of them, and talked to various people in the computer group that I belong to find out what were the better features. And I made a list of the features that I wanted on my machine, so that it's kind of like taking a grocery list when you go to the store and checking to make sure that you get everything you had planned on. I found the list very useful when I was at the shows, because I find there's a lot of confusion and it's very distracting to try and do particular things when you're at a computer show. So with the list, I could keep focused and get the salesman's specific answers to specific questions.
Yes.
And because it sounded like I knew what I was talking about, I think that they, you know, I was less apt to have something promoted that I really didn't need or didn't want. I would take my list, well, I want this, you know, floppy drives the 3.5 floppy drive, this 1.2 megabytes, and things like that. So it kept it focused so that I got exactly the machine I wanted.
That's great to hear.
Great,
You know, a
yes.
couple of things that we didn't get a chance to talk about were documentation, support, software,
The guarantees.
warranties,
Yes,
guarantees, whatever.
Definitely.
Tape drives.
Tape drives. These are all things we'll have to bring up on another
There's
show.
quite a few other things, yes.
That's right.
However, it's time to close.
That's right. Thanks.
Our show.
Thanks, Lola Foote,
Thank
for
you.
coming in and telling us about your experience, and Tim Hamlet
And Tim.
for doing a wonderful job explaining those monitors in 30 seconds.
Or less.
That's right.
Okay, I'm Diana McLean.
And I'm Rainey Laviolette, and we'll see you next time on PC Voyage. Nice list.